Good afternoon, and welcome to another Facebook Live Lunch and Learn with the Center for African American Health. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of you for your support during Colorado Gives Day. We're equally grateful for your volunteer hours and advocacy efforts throughout the year. Really, we couldn't do what we do without your support. So the Center for African American Health will be hosting our last COVID-19 vaccination clinic of 2021 on Tuesday, December 28th. This will be from 2 to 5:30. Details are available in the chat. We'll be offering free Pfizer and Moderna vaccinations and boosters, as well as flu shots. So if you're in need or you have friends and family or coworkers who are, please stop by. One more important announcement. We're hosting our 20th annual Collaborative Health Fair, and that's our 20th. So it's been pretty fantastic. We've been going this long. It is going to take place on February 12th, 2022 at the usual place, the Renaissance off of Quebec. Please save the date and sign up for our weekly e-blast for updates and information. If you're interested in being a sponsor or an exhibitor, that opportunity is now open, and we've added the registration link to the chat for you today. As we wait for a few more people to join, I'd like to introduce myself and tell you a little bit more about the Center for African American Health. So my name is Deidre Johnson. I'm the CEO and Executive Director for the Center. For those of you who may be unfamiliar with our work, we have been serving Metro Denver for more than 20 years with a focus and commitment on improving the health and well-being of the African American community. As we move through today's session, please feel free to type your questions in the chat and we'll address them if time permits. So I read an article recently that urged readers to remember, especially in this holiday season, that they need to remember the me in Mary during the holidays. The holidays tend to be very exciting for most, but for some, this time of year can also have an extra layer of stress and dredge up a lot of challenges, not to mention overbooked and busy schedules. Joining me today is self-care speaker, coach, and author, Sheri Betts. Her book, The ABCs of Self-Care, Your Guide to Creating a Happy, Healthy, and More Peaceful Life, is a wonderful interactive guide designed to help readers make better choices that support a self-care lifestyle. Thank you for joining us today, Sheri.
Sure, Deidre, I'm very glad to be here.
So I have to admit, I have it.
Yay!
And I've started the forward and I'm looking forward into diving into it. Before we get into this topic of self-care, share a little bit about your background for the folks watching.
Sure. So in addition to being a speaker and self-care coach and author, I am an executive coach and OD professional, organizational development professional. And I've been doing that for about 20 years now. I've also been a CPA, a sales and marketing leader, and executive director of a nonprofit called Inroads. So basically, Deidre, I am a overachiever who has written the book that I needed to read about self-care.
So we all have different ideas of what self-care means. What's your definition?
So yes, well, I like to make a distinction between self-care and pampering. So first of all, when people tell me they do self-care, they tell me about all this pampering that they do. And pampering is part of self-care, and it's a great short-term, temporary fix to feel good. But self-care is more long-term and definitely more sustainable. So self-care, I define it as making wise choices consistently to protect your well-being and happiness. That's how I define it. And it's a skill, and it has to be learned and can be learned, thankfully.
I love that definition. So what makes the concepts in your book so timely and important for people to learn?
Well, everybody's talking about the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic, and certainly it helped us to realize that what was important was our physical health to protect us from the virus, but also our mental and emotional health. So we experienced feelings of isolation and frustration, having to wear a mask, not wear a mask, We lost our restaurants, our favorite restaurants. I lost my nail salon, which I loved. That's one of my favorite pampering things to do. And what created from all of that, plus the economic strife we had, the racial tension, all of that created a bunch of turmoil, stress, anxiety, in some cases, depression. And so this topic is very timely because even though during the pandemic, I found myself being very anxious about washing my hands, and I made sure that me the resiliency to handle the pandemic and whatever else came to me. So it's a great way to protect yourself. Self-care is, and it protected me during the pandemic.
So I think to our own personal needs, how do you know if you need self-care?
Oh, that's a great question. And numb is a great word, because I think a lot of us are living very numb, and also in denial about whether they need self-care. So essentially, if you're not experiencing happiness, health, and peace of mind on a consistent basis, then you probably need self-care. Now, everybody's not going to be happy every day, and everybody's not going to have a fantabulous day every day. That's not the case. But if consistently you're not feeling that, then that's probably a sign. Some other signs are overwhelm, insomnia, uncontrollable anxiety, like my washing of hands. Sometimes you just need time to just relax, and you have to figure out what is going to be best for you. And I know I need self-care when I don't want to be productive. I don't want to think anymore. I don't want to talk to anybody. That's my time that I know I need self-care. And so I become one with my couch and watch all of my favorite TV shows. And that helps me to get back to that happy place.
One of the reasons I'm excited about your book is because I must admit, I too have that need to constantly do so much. And I'll realize I need self-care when I'm about to fall out. And so I can already tell from what I've read, this is really how do you even prevent from getting there?
Yes, yes. So, so the first letter is act on awareness and acceptance. So first of all, you have to be aware. So you've got to pay attention to where you are, and then once you are aware, decide to accept. Okay, hey, I'm ready to fall out. What am I going to do about it? So hopefully you make plans to do something to recharge and refresh. What people don't understand is that they can get even more done if they do self-care. So it's what the lack of self-care does is hold you back from doing everything and being everything you could be. So I highly encourage everyone to take a look and see what is the reason that you continue to keep busy. Is it something you're avoiding? Is it something that it's just a bad habit? Figure out what it is, because then you can figure out what the root cause is and then do something about and solve the problem at the root level.
So that kind of touches upon the next question was, like, what advice can you offer to individuals who really are having difficulty honoring that need for respite?
Yes. So first of all, just get started. And you work at your own pace, because self-care is it's more of an art than a science. You have to figure out what's best for you. And if you need to make time, figure out what's the right activity for you. Do you need a break? Do you need to actually sleep? Do you need to rest more? Do you need to have a better diet? Figure out what it is that you really need, and do what's going to be comfortable for you, and start small. One of the easiest things you can do is to start meditating. Now, I know everybody says that they can't meditate. So some people are more comfortable with it than others. But meditation basically is just focusing on your breath. That's it. That's all you have to do. And the good thing about meditation is it is a great way to change the synapses in your brain, so that you are able to resist stress better. You have more peace of mind, you have more resilience, and you don't have to meditate like a guru, an hour, 3 hours, 5 hours a day. You can do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and start with a minute and build up to it. So the important thing is to do something, and do something small if that's all you have in you. One of the other things that I did in the book to make it easy for people to figure out where to start is I put in a questionnaire in the appendix so that you can prioritize which chapters to start with. And you can also go to my website and do it online so you can get your answers immediately. But the idea is to figure out a way to prioritize and get started, and get a friend to help you. I say self-care is better with a friend. I really encourage you to do that, because then you can go through the exercises together if you're working in my book, or if you're just doing meditation together. I belong to a group of meditators, and it helps us keep accountable and to make sure that we're doing it. And it helps us to stay on course. So I highly recommend doing self-care with a friend.
Thank you. So in your book, you designated 5 letters for the African American community to consider. Tell us the significance of E, F, H, I, and K.
Sure. So I recommend everyone at least read those chapters who's African American. The E stands for embrace enoughness. There are so many of us who, maybe some of you watching now, who deeply don't feel like they are enough, of a spouse, of an employee, of a parent, maybe a sibling. Maybe you don't feel like you're the best. And the important thing to remember is that we were born worthy. We don't have to do anything to get it. We don't have to have a bunch of degrees. We don't have to have the best designer bag. We are enough as we are. We were born that way. And so if you can remember that and not let unrealistic and perfectionistic thinking rob you of that worthiness. And that, I think, is really important for African Americans. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't strive for bigger goals. Yes, you should. But tying your worthiness to the achievement of those things is what I'm discouraging you against. So that's letter E, embrace enoughness. Letter F is forgive. And if you're African American or female or different in some way from the general population, you are likely have experienced some form of bias, prejudice, microaggressions, which are slights or insults that make us mad or disappointed or angry. One of the main prevalent microaggressions that I've experienced is feeling like I was ignored or not seen or undervalued or underestimated. And so one of the things that I had to do was to get over the hurt and disappointment. And I let myself feel that, but I got over it and made sure that I forgave fast and early so that I don't let that negativity stop me from achieving my goals and focusing my energy on the things that I care about, including my happiness. So I encourage you to forgive early and fast. The other letter is have healthy self-advocacy. Now, most of the time when people talk about advocates, they're talking about healthy people or being in the hospital. So one of the things that I encourage people to do is to advocate for yourself. And sometimes we let people pleasing, wanting to people please and be everything to everybody, wear that red cape. We make that be more important than advocating for ourselves. So as a healthy advocate for yourself, you have to balance the needs and wants of others with your needs and wants. And they have to be just as important. Your needs and wants have to be just as important as everyone else's. So you have to have healthy self-advocacy. And then letter I, this is one of my favorite, internally validate. So we live in a social media world where, getting likes and being acknowledged online, sometimes from perfect strangers, is the order of the day. And sometimes our self-esteem is tied to how many likes we get or whether someone responds to something we say. Maybe somebody's not even on Facebook, or somebody's not even on, looking at their messages, or maybe they don't get notifications, but we take it personally, and we have our validation tied to that. So I encourage you to validate yourself. Make sure that you're confident in your competencies. Make sure you are confident in what you do, what you bring to the table, who you are, and make sure that you are not focusing on external validation to feel good about yourself, because you'll be disappointed every time. So make sure you are confident in yourself and internally validate. And then the last letter is keep your power. So anyone who is insecure, or maybe somebody who feels like they need to be superior to other people, and that person can be white, black, whatever, anyone who is insecure could potentially try to steal your power. And true power is having a meaningful life and contributing your gifts to the world, and then letting that light shine so that people can see your power, the energy you project. People can see that. So keep your power. Don't give it away. Make sure that as you internally validate, you're keeping your power and letting it shine from the inside out. And another way you can keep your power is stop apologizing for everything, and especially things that you're really not sorry about. So we have made like a knee-jerk reaction. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. And every time you say, I'm sorry too many times, it dilutes your power, and it dilutes your authentic sorries. So when you're really apologetic and really sorry, somehow it's diminished somehow, because you always say, I'm sorry. So only say sorry when you're really sorry, and keep your power.
I love that. All those different facets, from the worthiness and the power and the reminding how to prioritize yourself. So we've got a few questions we're going to take. But before we do that, I'd like to share the details of our holiday book giveaway. So if you would like a free copy of Sheri's wonderful book, please email info@caahealth.org with the word self-care in the subject line before December 24th. And the first 20 submissions will receive a free copy of the book. And it's interesting because I've seen a few different books before. This is hefty. This is like over 100, 250 pages. And it's really good stuff. So I'm so excited, and thank you for really gifting this to the world. Do you have any additional resources you'd like to share?
Sure. And I also want to explain, because I know a lot of people have bought the book and said, "Oh, this is great," but they haven't started it yet because it's a lot. So, Deidre, you're not the only one. But I want to remind people is that it's structured like a regular book, but you don't have to read it start to finish. It's something that you can take a little bit at a time. You can have an issue, for example, with, hey, maybe I'm not feeling so positive today. So you decide to read Yield to Positive Perspectives, and you do the exercises and do the actions that are suggested. So it's something that you can read all at once if you want to, or you can just read it a little bit at a time. So I encourage you to just read a little bit at a time. In terms of resources, as I said, self-care is better with a friend. So they are your greatest resource for insights and for support. And if you do these exercises in my book with someone else, what a great way to deepen your connection with them. We live in a world where we text and we email and we send posts on social media, but we're not connecting as much anymore. And we need deeper connections in our life. So I highly recommend you, if you're not one of the winners, buy the book for a friend, or work through the book with a book club. get a group together to work through some of the exercises, because I guarantee you it will have a great effect on the quality of your life. Some other resources you can find on my website, www.abcsofselfcare.com. And you also can check me out on Instagram. Even though I haven't done a whole lot on Instagram yet, that's on my plan. As someone who internally validates a lot, it's a mindset that I've got to change. But I want to get my message out to the world about how important it is for self-care. So check me out on Instagram at ABCs of Self-Care.
Wonderful. We've got a few questions that came in.
Sure.
The first one, any advice on how to deal with family and friends that might be uncomfortable or resistant to accepting the changes you're making for yourself?
Oh, yes. That's really, really important, because if you've always been that go-to person, the person that always says yes, the one that can always be depended on, the one that does everything for everybody, they are definitely going to resist change, most likely. So I recommend you actually giving notice. Give people notice in your family. Have a family meeting, or just talk to your spouse and kids and let them know, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a better parent, spouse, whatever, if I take better care of myself. So sometimes I'm going to say no more. Sometimes going to do things for me first. Sometimes I'm going to maybe adjust how we do things in the household. I might ask for help more. So I just want to warn you of that. And what I do in the book is give you a technique to use, something called TNK. So if you have something to say, make sure that it's true. Make sure it's necessary. So if it's something that's just, you can just say with your actions, then don't say it. But if it's something that's necessary to say it with kindness. So use the TNK filter when you talk to your family and friends about you, this new you, someone who is taking good care of themselves. Something else I recommend is I say to people, literally, in the spirit of self-care, I'm not going to be able to do that right now. Or in the spirit of self-care, I'm going to need to take a break. And my family knows how I am, and most of my friends. So they expect that, and don't give pushback. But you kind of have to give them that. You have to let them know in advance that this is coming, and actually, that's a good way for them to have them hold you accountable for taking better care of yourself. Because I've had a lot of coaching clients where their spouse says, yes, please do take better care of yourself, and we'll support you in that. So you may be surprised at their reaction.
Definitely. I think I had the same thing happen with my sons. Like, they were the most supportive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think ultimately everybody wins because there's more of you, because you are happier, and there's more of you to give when you don't drain your reservoir.
Yeah, exactly. You're giving from a full cup. So if you're always doing everything for everybody, always saying yes, generally those people are drained and overwhelmed and stressed out and anxious. All of those things. And so then you're not going to be able to do letter Z, which is zealfully play. You're not going to be fun. So self-care helps you to be more fun and to enjoy life more.
How can you deal with the guilt and shame that some people put on those wanting to put themselves first?
Yes, because people who say people say that they're selfish if they want to put themselves first. And one of the things that's really important, it really isn't, self-care isn't selfish. It's essential. It's vital. And it's a skill that you have to learn. And usually the shame and the guilt is you putting pressure on yourself to be all things to all people. And so if you change your mindset to a more self-care mindset and be okay with taking care of yourself better, then a lot of times you won't project that shame and guilt onto them, because sometimes the shame and guilt that you see in other people is really the shame and guilt you feel from yourself. So check yourself and make sure that you are okay, and will declare that you will take better care of yourself so you can be better for everybody.
And I think if you're in a situation where someone really, really doesn't want you taking care of yourself, maybe that's somebody you don't need to know anymore.
Yes, exactly. Deidre, that's so true, because people come into our life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And sometimes the reason is for you to see that this person is too toxic to be in your life. So I say, let them go. Seriously.
I like that. A reason, a season, or a lifetime. And our last question, in this digital age, are there any online tools you would recommend people try out to practice their self-care activities?
Oh, sure. Well, if you are doing, for example, meditation, I highly recommend YouTube. You can Google within or search within YouTube and find specific meditations for a particular topic you're interested in. For, let's say, letter G is grow with gratitude. So let's say you want more gratitude in your life. You can Google gratitude in YouTube and get more meditations. You also can find ones that suit the timing, because some of them are 5 minutes and some of them are 20 minutes. And you're like, would you please stop talking about gratitude? So I highly recommend YouTube. There are also people like Cheryl Richardson you can follow. She's written books on self-care. You can follow other individuals that I mentioned in my book, like Ayanna Van Zant. Of course, LaTanya Taylor is someone that I would highly recommend you check out. Check out people that I've quoted in the book, because those people have greatly influenced my self-care ideas and practices. So I would highly recommend that you focus on finding people that say the things that you need to hear about self-care.
Wonderful. Thank you. We're going to wrap up. One thing I forgot to share earlier, if folks are watching right now, the center is working on some videos around COVID vaccinations, and we're filming adults talking about their experiences today from 4 to 6, but also this weekend on Saturday, parents of young children who want to talk about why they're getting their kids vaccinated from 11 to 1. And then we have teens talking to teens from 1 to 3:30. So if you want to drop by and would like to be a part of, be on video, have that discussion, please send us an email at info@caahealth.org, and we'll get you set up. Sheri, so I am someone who, for most of my life, I would get pampering him every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I started self-care, I kept feeling like an onion. And it was because for a while I was avoiding well, I'm too busy. And it wasn't until I started asking, why am I too busy to take care of Deidre, that it really everything started falling into place. So I want to thank you for this.
Sure.
And I just want to thank you. I'm fully transparent. We've known each other for about a year, and you're a bright light, and just thank you for what you bring to the world.
Oh, thank you so much, Deidre. And I love this organization and what you're doing for the African-American community. And I hope that it extends beyond Denver and Colorado, because the work that you guys do is truly incredible. And I'm hoping to bring more light to the work that you're doing as well. So thank you. And thank you for appreciating me. I accept that, and I appreciate you saying that.
So thank you all for joining us today. This video will be available along with other information on the center's YouTube channel. And again, if you'd like a free copy of Sheri's wonderful book, send us an email and we'll get that to you. Take care and be well.
Bye, everyone.